I'm going to tell you how I think the Trump's new tariff on solar products that are going to be imported in the United States going to affect the electric car industry. I'm also going to talk about the topic that I've been trying to avoid for a few days, but you guys have been just pounding me with emails and messages. So we are going to talk about the Tesla slamming into a fire truck here in California. Some interesting news coming out of Europe with an alternative to the supercharging network, and this is one that's for real. And of course, the comment of the day. We're going to talk about it all in the next 10 minutes, try to cramp it all in. And we're going to do it right here at E4 Electric, your #1 source for what's happening now in the world of electric cars. And we're going to start right now.
Taking over the world, electrifying the world, E4 Electric.
All right, we are talking about the Trump's new tariff. Now, let's set up some ground rules here, okay? We're not talking about Trump. However you feel about him, whether I'm going to say the word Trump a few times, so whether you love it or hate it, just going to have to put it aside. This is not a political conversation. We are going to talk about what's just happening, okay? And what's happening is that Trump's administration is proposing a 30% tariff on solar panels and some major solar panel parts that are going to be coming from other countries that may obviously, you know, targeting China and South Korea products, but this is going to be targeting all countries just in case if they decide to set up some manufacturing in other countries and then import it. So, okay, so that's one thing. Now, something that I think people don't realize that this is not a tariff that's just going to be tariff from now on. They're doing it on 4-year parts, and this is a little weird. The first year it's going to be 30%. Then it's going to go down by 5% every year and go down all the way to 15%, and it's going to disappear. Now, a lot of people don't really like this because they're saying that there will be a lot of jobs lost in the United States. I think they're quoting 23,000 jobs because, you know, the more expensive these panels are, the less installations are going to be there because the cost of installation is going to go up. They're saying about 7%. Now, other people saying because a lot of the solar panels being imported from China, they're pretty cheap. So whether it's cheap and then plus 30% is still pretty cheap, then it's really not going to affect it that much. Now, I hope people watching outside of the United States understand the concept that Trump is, you know, created is that, hey, we don't want stuff being made outside of our country. We'd rather have it, you know, hire our own people here in the United States so we can make our own stuff. And this is, you know, we're talking about here about solar panels. Now, here's an interesting fact. Now, this is the a percentage of tax on imported cars that the United States has. So if you want to import a car, it will tax you 2.5%. Now, if you want to import the cars, and that's what Tesla and many other manufacturers do, if they import the cars to China, then there's a 25% tariff. So, you know, and I think this is kind of where this might be leading, right? Now, 4 years, and this is weird, right? Because they're going to phase it out in 4 years. I'm not sure if any manufacturers are going to say, well, we don't want to invest in a factory in the United States when this is going to be a moot point in another 4 years, right? So that part is kind of weird. So yeah, I don't know if they're going to do it, but the generally speaking, I think this is where this is all going. So I think this tariff thing is just a tiny little drop in the huge ocean that's just going to start dropping on us, where, you know, if Trump administration starts going forward with this, where they're going to try to make China say, listen, we either tax your products really high or you're going to give us a break. And by the way, right now, if you're Tesla and Tesla pays the 25% tax, which makes their cars even more ridiculously expensive there, with the average income being less than many times in the United States here, you know, that really makes it hard for Tesla and other companies compete in China. The only way they can compete there is if they create a joint venture with a Chinese company and start making cars there, which a lot of companies don't want to do because, well, they don't want to share their secrets with, you know, Chinese manufacturers. Now, Tesla looks like struck their own deal with China where they're going to build their factory there, but it's not going to be a joint venture. So I don't know how they struck that deal, but that was pretty cool. So it is definitely going into that battle of who's going to charge whom for what to be imported in their countries. So I'm seeing this as not so much either problem or benefit right now, but as a bigger trade war that's coming up and that will shape the prices of electric cars, because this is also about electric cars. This is about, because as you know, right now, China is investing a lot of money into car companies around the world and into their own infrastructure. How many news have I had in the last 3 months where it's either $1 billion investment into electric car company or a Chinese company wants to go into the world market in the United States? Now, this is the reason why we're probably going to have something play out very soon in the next couple of years, where those prices will somehow be affected. I don't know how, but it is definitely going to be affecting everybody and our prices of the cars here in Europe. I know a lot of you guys are watching me from Europe. Christian, for example, here in the chat room, NFS from Germany. Staff Sausage, by the way, is watching us from around the world. It's 4 o'clock in the morning there in South Korea. Staff Sausage, welcome for the first time into the chat room. Thank you for joining us here. Gary is watching from New York, but a lot of you guys are watching around the world, so I think it rings true and not true to a lot of you guys. So I'm interested to know what you have to say. Jan in the chat room says, Alex, in European Union we have import tax too for Chinese solar panels. So it does look like we're behind on this here in the United States. Let's Agent R says basically what he wants to do is make America great again, buy more from USA. Yeah, that's his whole thing. This is what he ran on to win as a president, and to bring more jobs to the United States. Now, people are saying, listen, on one hand, it's supposed to bring jobs. On another hand, you're going to cut a lot of jobs, because the higher the prices of the solar panels installations, the less people are going to buy it. So I have to say that I'm not really sure if I'm sold on this whole jobs thing just yet, because it could go either way. Let's see. All right, well, guys, let's discuss it in the comment section. I know you guys will discuss it in the chat. My job is just kind of to bring you guys this news, because I think it's the beginning of a much longer conversation. Again, please keep the politics out of it. I don't care what you think about Trump. This is really more about electric cars, remember? So let's get that conversation going. Before we move on to the next story, I just wanted to remind you that this channel and this video is sponsored by Evanex, the aftermarket accessories for Tesla. And if you would like your own personal discount code when you shop there, you can find it in the description of this video. And by the way, guys, if you're enjoying this video, please go ahead and give them thumbs up. Usually my videos do better when they have a lot of those attached to them. All right, let me move on to the story that I've been really trying to avoid, because, you know, here, this is a picture from the Culver City Firefighters Department on Twitter. This Tesla that just slammed into a fire truck that was parked in the emergency lane. Well, I guess they made an emergency lane out of it, out of the left side lane. People are saying that Tesla was traveling on autopilot. Autopilot didn't see the truck and slammed right into it full speed. Nobody died. The guy just walked away fine. But at first, here's the thing. I did not think that this was an electric car story or Tesla story. I thought it was an dude not paying attention, once again behind the wheel story, just happened to drive an electric car. Now, till this day, and I've looked at all the articles that have been written about it, till this day, it has not been confirmed that the car was on autopilot, okay? But at the same time, NTSB today decided to get involved, and they're going to investigate this. Now, I know they investigated the previous crash a few years back because the guy died, but here I have no idea why they're sticking their nose into it, unless they know something that we don't know, and the car was really on autopilot. Now, there are two problems with that, right? If the car was really on autopilot, that only emphasizes something we already knew, that, hey guys, even if your car on autopilot, it's not an autopilot. Again, poorly phrased, poorly named feature, but nevertheless, you are still in charge. So if you're not paying attention, you're gonna slam into something, okay? So that's number one, can't emphasize enough. The bigger problem is if it was an autopilot, again, if it was an autopilot, why didn't the autopilot recognize the huge truck that was, you know, going at 0 miles an hour in front of you and attempted to brake? Because the car slammed into a truck at 65 miles an hour from the report, so I'm assuming it was just not even, I wasn't even braking at all. Now, we're gonna have all those details once the investigation is closed, so we're probably gonna have a better, a more adult conversation about it, because right now it's hearsay. Again, we don't even know if the autopilot was engaged. But for now, I'm going to say that this story is about a dude who wasn't paying attention and just happened to drive a Tesla. So that's where I'm at with that. I still wanted to report that to you guys because, once again, you guys been hammering me about asking me to talk about it. So I'm talking about it. All right, next story. And this one is a big one, guys. To be honest with you, this story would have been a lead if it wasn't for these two other stories that I just did earlier. But as you know, in Europe, they've been actually doing a good job building out an alternative to a Tesla Supercharger network, which is a high capacity fast charging network. Now, this is something that was been #1 complaint from everybody, saying, why would I buy something that's not Tesla? I don't care how great that car is or how cheap that car is, if I don't have a good means of traveling, like with Tesla, where I can just supercharge, and there's so many supercharger locations, so why would I ever do that? Now, the answer in America here, you don't have an answer, and Tesla has a huge edge. But in Europe, they started actually figuring that out. Now, there are already 2 fast charging networks that are being built there. One is called Ionity, and another one is called Ultra E, I believe. Both of those are being backed by a bunch of mainly car manufacturers. I think BMW is involved in both, Porsche, Volkswagen, and Mercedes. So they're all kind of pinching in. They're doing the smart thing. They're pinching in into one supercharging alternative network, so all of their cars, once they're out in the market, can supercharge there. Now, here's a third one that's coming up, and this one is also a big one. It's called Mega E, and this one's going to have 350 kilowatt charging capacity, which is, I believe, even faster than superchargers right now. So this is almost going to be like the Tesla's new mega chargers they're announcing. And this is no joke. They're going to have more than 300 of those in Europe by 2020. By the way, Ionity says they will have 400, and the Ultra, I think, has 150 at the end of 2020. So this is a lot of supercharger alternatives in Europe that are going to be popping up just in time as all these companies are going to be rolling out their alternative to Tesla, their electric cars. And this is where Tesla is probably going to start losing competitive edge in Europe. Here in America, we got nothing going on. I've been at CES, as you know, a couple of weeks ago. I see no progress whatsoever. I did talk to ChargePoint there, which is kind of the largest charging network here, at least the most famous one. And they have very little plans to kind of roll out level 3 charging. So we are definitely behind. Tesla going to continue doing well here in the United States. Aaron in the chat room says, I support a tariff on cheap Chinese solar. Okay, so there's one opinion. Hello from Montreal, says the Money Mass. Welcome to the chat. I haven't seen you here before. Isaac Park says that it was at 65 mile an hour. That's how the Tesla crashed in the truck. That's the fire truck. That's why it doesn't look like it was braking. Let's see. Well, Isaac in the chat says crashed into the fire truck and the windshield is not even crashed. You know, it was pretty crashed. I mean, let me go back to that picture. Oh yeah, I see what you mean. Yeah, it wasn't. Well, that's why the guy walked away, and that's why Tesla is extremely safe. But nevertheless, the question is really not that. It's, you know, good for Tesla being a safe car. Absolutely, kudos to them, 5-star rating. But we're talking about the autopilot, and that's kind of a bigger conversation, obviously. In my honest opinion, in the chat room says, one recent accident, autopilot or not, is insignificant. It seems like an isolated incident. That's exactly my point. You know, remember when Tesla caught on fire and I was like, oh my God, these electric cars catch on fire all the time? And we find out it's been, what, like 2 or 3 total in the world, while 20 to 30,000 regular cars catch on fire. And that was the same year that famous actor from Fast and the Furious got killed specifically by a car fire. Yeah, it's unreasonable. That's why I really didn't want to cover that story. But guys, I'm behind. I got to move on to a comment of the day. So let's do that. The comment of the day comes from Jeffrey Atkinson. He says, do you know how much it costs Model 3 owners to fill up, since they will not have free supercharging? That's interesting because no one haven't asked me this before. But yes, you can find that out. It varies. The answer is it varies because superchargers, they obviously buy energy from whatever the your local utility company is, and it varies from time to time, to location, and so forth. Now, what you can do, you can go to Tesla's website. I believe it's tesla.com/support/supercharging. And among all those frequently asked questions, you will see a little calculator here. As you can see right now in California, it's 20 cents per kilowatt hour. And once you can, California can be changed to any other state, and you can see what the current rate is to supercharge your Tesla Model 3. So to answer that question, now, by the way, they're not saying how much it's going to cost for the idle charges. So that's kind of interesting, because that would be the right place probably to do that. But nevertheless, they did give us an answer for that one. Let's see. Yes, Varun, IMHO actually stands in my honest opinion, I think. Or maybe he can clarify. If it was autopilot, it is a reason why it is terrible, says Flint567. Yes, if. So my problem is, if it was, then yes, let's talk about it. But if until then, it's a non-story. And even if it's an autopilot, then I think the story needs to be about, you know, people taking responsibility for the technology they use. I think that's reasonable. Let's see. All right, so what else? I think that's pretty much it. So many of you guys joined from different parts of the world. I really appreciate it. Once again, we're gonna meet here again tomorrow in our usual time, 11 a.m. Pacific time. More news coming out. I believe Nissan Leaf has some news, so we're gonna talk about it and many other things. All right, until then, I will see you guys. Oh, by the way, some people are asking what my t-shirt says. Okay, my car needs a lawyer. It's been charged with battery. The link to this t-shirt in the description of this video. Okay, guys, gotta go. See you next time, and remember to stay charged.